Out. Okay, so I'm going to review from last week and then we're going to go into this week. Okay, so last week we said that the Hebrew word for a groom is chasan. And chasan relates to the phrase nachos draga, to drop rank. And this suggests movement from above to below. So the word chasan emphasizes the role of the masculine in the preparation stage for Hashem's vision for the the end story of what the world's going to be. So what Hashem's vision is to so the chasan's role is to serve as the holy envoy, drawing down lights from his transcendent crown above, which is Bina, mother. Okay, so Bina is already, Chachma and Bina is already in the 10, like the world of the 10, right? When we learned the chart of different levels of light of Hashem and higher, so you have the 10, which is the linear and the rules and the very, very practical, and that's the world, the light of the world, and then above that is the lower 11, which is sort of like the subconscious world, but it's still in the created world. And above that is the higher 11 light, Hayu light, and that is the light that doesn't have limitations. It's the light before creation, and that's the root of the feminine. So that's the higher light. Okay, so the masculine, because it suited Hashem's vision for how this world is going to come, sort of like Hashem had a whole plan how to bring that vision into reality. So therefore, it started with the masculine, because the masculine have a linear kind of light, the hierarchy kind of light, and they were tasked with drawing down from Bina, Chachma Bina Das, right, to draw down what they understood about the Torah and pass that on to the feminine. Okay, to the wife, the sphere of Malchus. Now, this ability for a man to do this, the Alter Rebbe says, is the mother's engagement gift that assures that he'll have the necessary resources to function as a true husband and a holy envoy to his bride. And all this still applies today. So as much as we're talking about the feminine connecting to her lights and she's going to be the crown, it's very circular. Okay, the masculine still has his place, and he still, from his strengths, he still supports his wife in the way that he needs to show up in a marriage. That doesn't change. It's just that now we could take the world to Geula through reconnecting to the original intention of Hashem, which is the feminine light. Okay, so now we get to the woman. So the Hebrew term for the Kallah, the bride, is Kallah. And Kallah is related to the word Kalel, to include, which is quite interesting because it's talking about like that circular, there's no hierarchy. Like nobody has to know that you're created, you have a higher light. Nobody has to know about it. You don't have to advertise it. You have that strength. You could achieve great things without even like being in anybody's face. And so the word Kallah highlights her trait of receptivity, mikabel. And receptivity is the end vision for the co-created relationship of unity that we're going to have between Bnei Yisrael and Hashem. Bnei Yisrael are going to be the Kallah. Okay, so a Kallah is a mikabel, and we're still going to have that, no matter the fact that we're going to be connected to our higher lights, and we are connected right now, actually, and we're sort of like the crown to the masculine. At the same time, what makes us special is that we are the makabel in the relationship, and that's what it's going to look like in the days of Mashiach, right? So, so let's say as a makabel, this is for the whole Klal Yisrael. So we know we don't have to control anything. We don't have, we could just say what's coming from within. Like, I would love to do this, and then we wait for Hashem to lead the way, to get everything out of the way, to bring things towards us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the masculine, is the chasan, right? So it's that same relationship that we're that we have a face-to-face relationship. When you have a healthy relationship between a husband and wife, which is the masculine is the mashpia in that way, and the feminine is the mekabel, we're actually, by connecting to our higher light, we're going to be able to have this beautiful same relationship between Hashem and Klal Yisrael. So it's very circular. It doesn't mean that the women are now like controlling everything and, we're the bosses, we know better. No. It's a very beautiful light. It's just a beautiful inner strength. And we have a lot of koyach to influence without even saying anything. That's the beauty. We're very, very powerful in a very quiet way. Okay, so this perfected state, which I just described, is what it's talking about when it says Eshes Chayil Ateres Bala, a woman of valor is the crown of her husband. So that's what we're talking about. So till we began this Avodah, which began in Tafshin and Ches, so the roles were reversed. So we had the masculine was the crown, like he had the crown because he received from Bina. So that was his like transcendent wisdom that he slowly like brought down. And when he grew in learning, then he took down some more. So that was his crown. But then now, as we're doing this work, we're the ones that are the crown of the crown, if you want to call it. So in the past, let's say before Tafshim and Ches, so it was the Tikkun light that was the crown. So that's a more chesanius, it's a more external light, and that's more like a light of intellect and a light of spirituality. Spirituality is actually a lower light than Gashmias, okay? Because Gashmias is tangible. It's something from nothing that you could actually feel. It's like Hashem, right? You could touch Hashem. Spirituality is abstract, so it's actually a lower light. But till this Avodah began, so that was like what we glorified, like it was like, are you on the right path? Are you focusing on spirituality or physicality? Now, you know what the new focus is? Are you focusing on pnimius or chitzanius? And in chitzanius, you can have spirituality. You're being spiritual because you want everyone to think you're amazing. You're being spiritual because you want to control. So that could also be very chitzanius. But what's the avodah of today is the pnimius. It could be spiritual or physical according to what's coming from Hashem, what Hashem wants to be expressed through you. That's what it is. It's no more about ruchnius and gashmius. It's about chitzanius and pnimius. Okay. So when it comes to when it comes to the roots of the feminine, which is the pnimius of the Tohu light, the emotion and the holiness of the physicality, so that's the feminine crown. So in the world of appearances, the woman is the lowest, but in the world of the roots, the woman is the highest. This is all from last week, but I'm just repeating it again. So the mechanism which underlies this turn of events is a metaphysical law that has two formulations. Sefer Yetzirah states, the end is wedged in the beginning. Okay, so Hashem, that was the whole vision, that the world is going to run this way, where the feminine is connected to her higher lights, and she's going to be able to use her kaiches in a special way and be able to achieve things in a way that you don't have to control, you don't have to chase, you just, desire and things. If it's what Hashem wants, Hashem brings everything to you. It's a beautiful, it's a life of pleasure, of calm, of peace and serenity. So this is the life of Geula. But in order for that to be a reality, the world had to first go through a whole, the whole preparation. It's like when you're building a palace. So there's the construction. So with the construction, the masculine, they excel in that part. But in actually living in the house and having a beautiful light in the house and enjoying Hashem, that's the feminine light. And that is the end vision of the whole purpose of creation, is to enjoy this beautiful world, see that everything's Hashem, and know how to use things in a way that reveals this light and reveals your own light. That, through connecting to this light, it allows us to mamish, I see personally that the more, it takes a long time, but the more we make sure to connect to this light, our nerves heal, and naturally we start behaving differently. It's beautiful. We don't realize, we think like it's so important to do because you have to accomplish. You don't understand. The whole goal is to be kula tzaddikim, right? And to shine Hashem's light. When we heal ourselves through taking care of ourselves and using our lights correctly, we naturally act like tzaddikim. We naturally talk nicely to people. We're naturally not judgmental. It's just, personally, it shocks me that I don't have to act any more nice. I actually could say the right thing coming straight out of my mouth, and I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. To people, to just, it's no more a show. It's like we're coming home to our true selves, and we were missing this light, this aspect of making sure that we don't create our own stress, and really, soothing ourselves and minding our energy. And at the same time, when we need to do things, we honor that as well. Because if you're just going to sit and on the couch a whole day, you're also not using your light, and then you can get depressed, right? But it's a whole balance of knowing how to, when you should do things which are true to you, and when you need to nurture yourself and take care of yourself. And when you do this enough, with time, you'll see that you're going to show up naturally so different. Things don't get to you. Things don't bother. It's just beautiful. I'm not saying it's always, sometimes you have to go higher, if you get a test and it's taking you higher. But you'll see by doing this that it becomes natural, that you could push it, be kula tzaddikim, when you're connecting to your feminine light. So, okay. So now, being as the last piece of handwork in the 6 days of creation was woman, thus, according to these principles, her root is higher than all that preceded her, for the last and lowest derives from the first and highest beginning. So it follows that her trait of receptivity must be the ultimate and eternally enduring purpose of creation. So that we should be a makabel to Hashem. Okay, what is the makabel? The makabel trusts that everything's going to come to her. She knows what she has to do, but she doesn't have to plan a whole vision, and it has to be like this and it has to be like that. She trusts that there's going to be a partnership. She knows what she needs to do, and she trusts that it's going to go smooth if it's the right thing, or she'll already know. And she's tuned in. She knows when she should stop, and she knows when she should go. It's a beautiful, beautiful relationship. Okay, so when the universe is a work in progress, Hashem needs builders to complete the millennium's size task of perfecting the world. So this downward facing work is a masculine skill. One second,
Something else. There's other, but I'm not going to do that. So,
second, can we mute? Okay.
a bag or something.
1 minute. Could somebody? Okay. Okay. So, but eventually, and actually, right now, the world will be built, and the job will be done. Okay. And that is what the Rebbe said. That the avodah is done. We have the kelim, right? And now it's time to be mekabel pnei Mashiach. So what is Mekabel Pnei Mashiach? To be receivers of this great light, to learn how to connect to our higher 11 feminine light, in order to have this beautiful relationship of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Shekhinah, or Hashem and Klal Yisrael. Okay, so it's like, now that we prepared ourselves, okay, we did all the masculine work, we made the kelim, and we learned about Hashem, we did all the intellect stuff, right? Now we are ready to learn how to be Mekabel. And to learn how to be Mekabel is a whole avodah in itself, and that's what we're doing now. And as we do it, I see that we just keep on going higher and higher. It's not like a 1 minute thing. Hashem keeps on giving us different challenges. And when we use the Malchus tools, and we know what to do, we turn around and say, hey, wow, I'm in a different place right now. So it's not like a 1 minute thing, but we just constantly stay there, and you start seeing the results that you're returning to your original state. That's tshuva. Okay, tshuva ilah, right? That's taking you back home to what you're really meant to be. And you don't have to be stressed out, and you can be calm. And that's what it says. You actually call it Shabbos, because we're going to learn how to take care of ourselves in a way that we could always be calm and at peace, and we don't have to be stressed out, and we could trust, and we know that everything's just like a beautiful marriage. You know that your husband's has your back. He's taking care of you. You don't have to lose sleep. He's going to treat you like a princess, like a queen, and you do yours. He does his. Everything is beautiful. Okay, so this explains the last thing we left off last time was about the fact that it says that in the time of Mashiach, the Malachim are going to turn to the tzaddikim in the world, and they're going to say Kadosh, 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 right? Hashem says, we say that. One second, I hear some noise. I don't know from where. Okay, right here. Okay, so we say that to Hashem, right? So how come the Malachim are going to say it to the tzaddikim, the humans, right? Because the tzaddikim, it says, are rooted in Malchus. And Malchus, when she's connected to her higher light, right? We started the higher 11, the Tayu light, then she's higher and she's the crown, right? So the Malachim are from the lower 11, the subconscious world. So they are going to turn to the tzaddikim, which is really all of us, because the Rebbe actually this week's Dvar Malchus, Parshas Emor, the Rebbe said that when we do the Geula work, we're going to all be Kula tzaddikim. And I'm not saying I'm a tzaddikim. I'm just saying that I see tangible difference. It becomes natural. It's night and day. And who would believe it? Who would believe it that this is, you don't have to make yourself Meshuggah. This is what it takes to just show up in such a better way. It's unbelievable. So that is where we're up to. And now I am going to put the class on, and I'd like to, if possible, finish, and then we'll do other things. We'll start other things that are connected to the Malchus Aveda. Oh, wait 1 second. Share screen, right? Share screen. Wait, where's the, no. Wait, where is it? It's right here. Trying to see how to get the class on. 1 sec. Share, no. I don't know why it's not showing up. Share, no. 1 sec. Sorry. I want this. I don't know why this is not showing up. 1 sec. Oh, that's right. It's not here. Okay, let me put it back. 1 second. Sorry. Okay. Right here. Okay. We have it. Okay. So now I'm going to go. 1 sec. We're going to go. Here's the class. Here's the class. And do share screen. Share screen. I don't see it. I don't know what's going on. Share screen. I don't know what's going on. Sorry. I want to do it inside. The class is right here, but it's not sharing. What is wrong? Sorry. Here it is. Okay, sorry. I found it. Okay, share. There we go. Okay, so here we are, and we're on page 22. Okay, and the last page we're going to do is 26, so I hope that we could finish the whole thing. 21, 22. Okay, so now that we caught up to ourselves, okay, I just want to see where the Malachim, where the Rebbe said about the Malachim. Good. So now at the bottom of page 22. So now it's possible to answer the essay's original 5 questions regarding the last 2 marriage blessings. So the 6th bracha, which applies to the relationship of man and woman in their present unperfected state, closes. So that's okay. This, don't forget that this mimer was written in the 1700s, I believe, right? So when I say in their present unperfected state, we're talking about at that time and until we started doing this work. Close the words. Blessed are you, Hashem, who rejoices the groom and bride. Okay. The seventh bracha, which applies to the future, reads instead, who rejoices the groom with the bride. So there's a difference between chasan v'kala and chasan im hakala. Why? What's the difference between the two? Because the second one is basically saying that in the past, the feminine was like, in the hierarchy, the feminine malchus was on the bottom. Now that the woman is actually going to rise and they're going to have sort of like equality, even though the feminine is the higher light, but it's really an equal kind of relationship where each one shows up the way they're meant to show up in the relationship. So that's why that's the equality of the relationship. Okay, a woman shows up as a woman, a man shows up as a true man, and that's the shoulder to shoulder relationship. Okay, now on to page 23. So now a woman who is called bride receives her lights from men. So now this is, okay, we're talking about the time that the Alter Rebbe wrote this. Woman who is called bride receives her lights from man who is called groom. His larger stature affords him greater access to the transcendent realms, and she is dependent upon him for this. He pulls their lights down from mother and afterwards transfers hers to her. Okay, so he gets it. He studies like Gemara and Halacha and all these things, right? And he takes what he feels is appropriate for the woman, and he says this is what the women have to know. Okay, and since lights and consciousness are always synonymous with joy, the sixth marriage blessing describes the present as a time when gladness passes from groom to bride, and he is the agent of her joy. Okay, so this hierarchy of descent begins with mother, like we said, right, Bina, who passes superconscious and surrounding life to her son, which is the man, and an act described by the pasuk, the crown wherewith his mother crowned him on the day of his espousals. He internalizes some of the light and separates out a portion and conveys it to the woman, his wife. This hierarchy of flow is not the ideal and will not always be so. Eventually, the woman of valor will become the crown of her husband. Like a rubber band stretched back and released, when woman completes her tikkun, she will spring beyond the level of man up to the level of crown, which is the first and higher sphera. It's actually above chachma, it's kesed. When this happens, their gender polarity of higher and lower, giver and receiver, will reverse, and she will bestow consciousness to him. Okay, and we spoke about this many times. What does this mean? It's not anymore like the intellect. It's not like Gemara and halacha and all the things that are very masculine. It's that she influences him. When she connects to her light, she influences him to become holy and to live like in a beautiful, healthy way, because she changes the whole energy of the home and she affects him. So that's so beautiful, because it's a silent voice, but it's so powerful. And that's very important to know. It's not, we have to make it clear that it's not that now we're going to tell the men how to do things. No, we're so powerful. We could sit in our bedroom and everybody else in the kitchen changes. That's major power, major power. Okay. 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 When this happens, the gender play, give and receive will reverse, and she will bestow consciousness to him. The seventh blessing describes this turn of events with the phrase, who rejoices the groom with the bride. The essential source of joy and consciousness will originate with the bride, woman, who has reattained her full stature after nearly 6,000 years on the lowest rung of creation. This is what is meant. This is what it means that the end is wedged in the beginning. When the end finally reattains its beginning, the lowest becomes the highest, and the groom will receive his flow of light and joy from the bride. And we could attest to this, because those who are really doing this Avodah are, the energy is just amazing. The energy of the home, it's just so, I can't even explain that people that, like in the past, like let's say kids that used to get on each other's throats and fight over everything, are suddenly learning how to like hear each other and respect each other, and they're laughing. It's just so beautiful. That's such a level of joy, and everybody's okay the way they are, and nobody has to be different. It's just so beautiful, the light that the feminine brings. It's magnificent, and this is a greater joy than the joy that we had before, which is, you have to, it's an intellectual joy. When you're aroused by this and you think about that, then you can feel joy and get all excited. This it permeates the whole environment. This is what, when the end finally retains its beginning, the lowest becomes the highest, and the groom will receive his flow of life of joy from the bride, who has become his crown, as the verse foretells. We said that already. This future era is also alluded to by another verse of Yirmiyahu: behold, I will create a new thing. The woman will surround the man. Okay, so it's going to be, what I mean, it's a new thing. That for 6,000 years we lived a certain way. We valued, spirituality as the main thing. We suppressed emotions, we suppressed the body, and that was what we thought was our whole Judaism, And now we're starting to see that the higher light is actually in all the things that we suppressed. And so it's like, it's a new thing, because we never were able to live such a beautiful, like Uladik, like Gan Eden life before. So it's mamish new, because this is something we didn't have before. We didn't have the kalim to be able to even live such a life before, right? Because Hashem wanted to hide. It would be too intense if Hashem would really reveal his light to us before. Remember, by Har Sinai, they all passed out. Okay, 1 second. Could somebody mute themselves? I hear some background. Okay, right. Okay, so this explains why the seventh blessing expresses impatience with the present and seeks to hurry its envisioned end. Let there mehera yishama, let there soon be heard in the cities of Yehuda the voice of the groom and the voice of the bride. That they're finally, like that, the masculine light is the masculine light. He's still receiving from Bina, right? In that way, when he learns, right? But the feminine was never a true feminine, because she stayed on the bottom. She was detached from her true light. She couldn't really be herself. She couldn't, be what she was meant to be. She couldn't light up the world in the way she was meant to light up the world. So there was no equality in that kind of way. But now that's the ideal life, because that is a life where that evil ceases to exist, and everybody could live in such a beautiful life, and work in harmony with Hashem, and trust, and be taken care of, and live an abundant life. It's a beautiful life. And so, of course, so mehera, let's have this quickly. Let's have this times quickly. If anybody has a question or anything to share, you could just interject. If not, we'll continue. Okay. So now in our full and exiled state, the woman, so this is, don't forget, this is before Memches was written. This is written before Memches. Now in our fallen and exiled state, the woman only has what she receives from her husband. She has absolutely nothing that is intrinsically her own, because what's her light? Her light is Taihu. It's the feminine, it's the emotions, and the holiness of it. She doesn't, it's not valued. So she's just getting what her husband believes is, the main thing, what they understood then. So she's completely dependent on him. This model of gender relations plays itself out on other planes as well. Okay, and not only that, but she could only, like, if she feels like she's not really thriving, or she's not, she's tense or whatever, she could only take what information the masculine passed on and use that to try to live a little differently or whatever. But she doesn't really have her truth that will allow her to really be a light. Okay, so that's what it means. She doesn't really have anything of her own, because she's dependent on the Chitzonius understanding of what Hashem wants from us. So and she's not tuned in to her own panemius information that's coming through her body, right? We now we understand that we have to tune into the the pneumius of the heart. And we're going to learn that in the Tanya. We're going to learn together that to connect straight to Hashem, to that light, we get that by tuning into the pneumius of the heart, the innermost desires of the heart. That's where Hashem comes straight through to us and expresses himself the way Hashem wants to be expressed. And then we bring that out. So she shouldn't have access to that. So it was all very in the mind. Okay, he says that you have to make 6 kugels. Okay, you have to make 6. He says this, that's how you do it. But now that she's connected to her light, she understands that, hey, what's my job? My job is I'm the light of the home. I have to make sure it's peaceful and there's a love and the love of Hashem in this home. And I have to be in tune with how I could best perform that service. So every level of reality displays gender. There's always a giver and receiver, a masculine and a feminine. It is certainly possible, if not probable, that within a given couple, these roles would switch from situation to situation, right? Let's say a woman is better at cooking. So in cooking, maybe she'll be the giver, But, okay. For example, in certain contexts, one of the peers assumes the role of active bestower, while in another context, he becomes the more passive receiver and vice versa. So like, for example, cooking or whatever, or something that the woman's good at the core, so that's where she's the giver and he's the passive one. Nevertheless, in every field of focus, gender exists. Consequently, if one examines the subject of divine service, Torah study is considered a masculine expression and tefillah a feminine one. So there are many reasons for these associations. Okay, so the bottom line is that we always have what's the masculine version of it and what's the feminine version, right? Even what do we have? I gave a whole list of the masculine. Spirituality is masculine, physicality is feminine. Nefesh Elokus is masculine, Nefesh Bahamas is feminine. The mind is masculine, the heart is feminine. So you have, there's always in relation to this, there's always a masculine and feminine. So among the variety of prayer forms found in Yiddishkeit, which is praise, request, thanksgiving, affirmation, right? Isn't that the feminine, right? We learn how to always express gratitude, to express desires in a way that inspires, which means no expectations, okay? And that's the same thing in relationship to Hashem. When we believe, that's like something that people struggle with a lot. They feel that if Emunah B'Tachon means that if you believe enough that it's going to happen, then it's going to happen. And guess what happens when it doesn't happen? You don't believe in God anymore because you let down, right? But, when we learn how to have a relationship with a masculine, there's no expectations. You just express your desires and you trust that if he could do it because you trust the relationship, he will. So if Hashem wants that to happen for you, he will bring it to you. But sometimes Hashem says, you're asking for something, and I really have something better for you. And I know it's very hard, but I'm going to keep you in this, this place of lack, because I know that I'm going to take you to something so much greater that if you just hang in there, you'll realize that it's better than what you were asking for, right? So then we thank Hashem. We say, oh, it's a good thing that you didn't listen to me back when I thought that this was what I want. Okay, so let's say you want a certain house. Hashem, I want this house, and I have all the betachon that I'm going to have this house, and I do all these tricks and all these all kinds of gimmicks, and then how do you call it, manifestation techniques and all kinds of things. And guess what? I don't have it, And then you feel bad, and it didn't work. I don't believe in anything, or maybe you do, whatever it is. The bottom line is, Hashem really had a better house for you. So we don't do, so we have to know how to do that. So the same thing, that's the feminine skill of knowing how to express desires without expectations. And that is something that serves us well in our relationship in Geula, because there's no expectations. Hashem might have a better plan, and you just trust that if you didn't get it, there's for sure a better plan. Okay. Okay. The most complete and essential expression of prayer is the Shemona Esrei, which means literally the prayer of 18 blessings, though it actually has 19, for one was added at a later period in history. This prayer is the heart of each worship service. All other liturgy is either building up or winding down from it. When the word prayer appears unqualified in Jewish writings, it refers to Shemona Esrei, also called the Amidah. So halacha derives many of the laws regarding its recitation from Hannah, the mother of Shmuel, whose prayer for child appears in the first book of Shmuel. The most distinctive rule is that it must only be whispered. And I believe in the times of Mashiach, Shemona Esrei is going to be said out loud. But that's something I just remember seeing somewhere. Nearly all other liturgical expressions are pronounced with full voice. Conversely, the Shemona Esrei is enunciated just loud enough for one's own ears to hear, no more. Since prayer is a feminine mode of worship and the essential expression of prayer is the Shemona Esrei, the whisper prayer, then its thrice daily recitation symbolically reenacts the bride's absence of voice at this point in history. Okay, so at the time, this is before Tavshem Ches, the Malchus was on the bottom and she couldn't go higher. She was limited to whatever she understood, whatever she received, the way Yiddishkeit was taught to her, that this is it. Okay, so she couldn't really connect, be a light in the way she's meant to be. And so she was quite silent. Okay. Speech is a human being's primarily tuned for projecting him or herself out into the world. The hidden content of one's thoughts becomes heard by another, and even more, once spoken, they influence the subsequent actions of those that heard them. Since speech is an outward projecting extension of influence, it is a masculine mode of expression. Okay, because when I say this, you have to do this. That's masculine, right? Or at least I hope you're going to do, right? While the more receptive listening role is feminine. One who has no voice, whether literally or metaphorically, lacks the normal channels of exerting power and influence over their environment and must resort to non-verbal methods, which often include violence or passive-aggressive protests. But now, the feminine has even better way, transcend all that. You don't have to do this and you don't have to do that. You don't have to tell people what to do, and you don't have to even be passive aggressive. You connect to your light, and you should see how powerful you become. You could change things, you could influence things just by, being present for people without saying a word, hearing them, making them feel heard, received, making the energy of your home beautiful. Your voice is really loud in that way. David HaMelech describes this voiceless state by the verse, I was struck mute with silence. Kabbalah identifies this phrase from Tehillim with a profoundly regressed development state that is called katna, literally smallness, conveying the idea of narrow-minded and constricted consciousness. Okay, we're getting there. Anybody have anything to add or say before we go to the next page?
Yeah. Hi, Bracha.
Yeah. Hi.
Do you hear me? Hi.
Yes.
Thanks so much for the class. So the last thing that you said about like the voice of silence, the feminine voice of silence, which is louder than, it's like we can say much more by not saying anything than when we're saying and talking and trying to convince and trying to. So I had that same experience, like since before Pesach. I have this class that I give once a week, and I haven't been giving the class, not because I was tired. It's just, I'm just in tune that it's time to give a pause a little bit. And it's so interesting. It's like, I know this is the right thing because something else is going to come, but I don't know exactly what. But I mean, we're talking like years and years and years of always being there and inspiring and, putting like spoon feeding. And then all of a sudden to take this time for no apparent reason, like it's just because I feel this is my truth. It's almost like I want to give the people time to process also so much that they've learned. And if somebody needs inspiration directly, there's so much inspiration. I just like a click away. And my husband actually gives a class every single day from Sunday to Thursday.
Wow.
I mean, on Friday and Shabbos. And a lot of people are coming in, men, women, and those people that are coming in, a lot of them said that he started lockdown like a year and a half ago. So a lot of them are saying that in that year and a half, they've learned more than they learned their whole lives, like people in their 50s, 60s.
Wow.
So it's so interesting, like what you're saying, like it's almost like showing me a picture of, okay, so he's teaching and he's there giving the class daily as over 100, people
Viewers.
coming in, no, more than that,
Oh,
because
live?
it's whatever, like,
Yeah.
how do you say, like cells. So sometimes it's a
Okay.
family, sometimes it's a couple, whatever.
Wow.
So, and it's consistent every day. And I'm like sort of giving like a step back. So, I'm a very outspoken person, always giving classes and like slowly just being more in my own energy and just having this connection with Hashem, knowing Hashem in all ways. And even when I try to like make a flyer and then give a class, it's like, it's just not happening because it's not my truth for right now.
Mm-hmm.
And on the outside, it might seem like, oh, like, why not? Like, why aren't you giving, aren't you preparing the world for Geulah?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in my pnimius, by being like true to myself, like I'm influencing so much more. I mean, my husband's
100%.
receiving my energy. So I just loved what you just said now, because it's so apropos for exactly the moment that I'm in right now. And I just want to say one more thing. Like at one point, and it was on a Sunday, and I said, you know what? If I need to speak and inspire and whatever, Hashem is going to send it to me. I don't have to run after this. And an hour later, my son's on Shlichus in Israel. He says, Ma, could you give a course on Tarsa Mishpacha, 6 classes, whatever.
Wow.
So I'm going to be doing it on Wednesday now.
Wow.
And also somebody else asked for the Shlichus, whatever. But it doesn't matter, like the detail, like how it's going to happen.
Right. We don't have to know. We just let Hashem show the way, and we're ready. And when it's right for us, we come forward, and it comes out in such a beautiful way. And I love that point about how that you feel that you're so you're empowering your husband, and your light is actually affecting all these people who are coming to the classes, and it's very, very powerful. We see the results. The bottom line is the world is changing, the environment is changing, and even within myself, I just realized that by doing this work, like I'm sort of commanding more respect. Like it used to be like if I said no, somebody would argue with me and wear me down. And now when I say no, oh, okay. You know what I mean? It's so powerful. You don't have to wear yourself out anymore. It's I can't explain it. When you connect to this light with the results, you don't know what's going to unfold, but it's like surprising. Like, oh, I'm waiting for the argument. No argument. Oh, nice.
And
okay.
also, Bracha, I think that's where true choice comes from. Because you're not doing it because you have to, because you're guilty. Oh my gosh, there's going to be an empty space. Who's, whatever. It's so even when my husband asked me to give the course, like I was listening and I was like, and I'm like, okay, do I want to do this? And it was like, yes, I want to do this. Like,
wow.
So it comes from a place of,
from within. Yeah. That's from Hashem. Mamash from Hashem. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's also another point. Like, I know maybe this is going to sound funny, but of course we have a part of Hashem, the Shekhinah is inside us, a part of Hashem that's inside us wants to connect in that way. But I feel like it's almost like an experimental experience for me, that I'm not running after it, chasing over it. Like I have to do it this Wednesday, this time. Like today I was like, you know what, maybe I will do a class. I'm like, what time should I do it? I'm like, no, 10 o'clock, no, 12 o'clock. It's like, no, there was no time in the space. I was like, you know what? I'm going to trust that. I'm going to trust the voice that it's just not flowing. I'm not going to push it. Like, so that's a masculine energy, pushing, doing, like, because you have to show up in that way. And the feminine is like, okay, this is all new for me. I'm just, I'm happy I have a place to share this because it's new. But it's really beautiful to see that it's just, I think we have to take the risk of doing things differently, even though
letting
we've done
Hashem
it for so many years.
show up as a true husband, and that whole relationship, letting it not playing the old dynamic and allowing things to show up and show that this is a new relationship. Okay, so now I'm going to continue because I want to finish.
Can I say one thing?
Sure. Okay,
Hi. So you were saying usually Malchus is considered to be speech when you learn it in the basic way.
Right.
And you're taught, but it's also Malchus is shiftless. So are you talking about like to speak when from the inside when you know it's time to speak, and the other time to have like a silent speech, that your speech comes from within you, just goes out, like I guess what you're calling energetically.
Right.
Or a few more words about that.
Okay.
Malchus' speech is like an
right. It's true. So what we were saying, like we didn't get up to what the geula was. It was more talking about the gullus speech versus silence of the masculine versus the feminine. It's not really saying that the masculine is speech. It's saying that in comparison, so if you're going to take speech and listening or being quiet, the man is the one that's in gullus, out there and talking and making things happen. And the woman is more passive, and whatever he says is the way to go. That's, but actually, so in a different, so Malchus is speech when it comes to creative, Hashem's creative abilities. So that's speech, but that, again, the Malchus speech is that it comes from within. And if when it's meant to be said, it's not a control tactic. It's a whole different. It's an expression of Hashem, and it's a creative energy versus like that control and that whole masculine kind of making things happen and giving orders and
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now up to page 25. A primary feature of katnut is the inability to express oneself in words. A chassan exists between awareness, a chasm exists between awareness and speech due to one's inadequate capacity of articulation, whether chronic or momentary. One's depth of intent or intensity of thought cannot be conveyed through the insufficiently developed instrument of speech. Instead, one retreats into frustrated silence. Okay, so this reminds me of the silence of the Nefesh HaBahamas, right? The Nefesh HaBahamas, the Alter Rebbe says, we got it. It came from the Eitz Hadas, right? The Klipas Naiga of the Eitz Hadas, and that is actually the higher within the Nefesh HaBahamas is the higher truth of Hashem, right? It's all the thing of the feminine, and it's covered up with Klipas Naiga. And because it was suppressed and not able to be expressed, so it didn't have the the mature ability to express itself, so it was frustrated. And that's why we have evil in the world, because it knows there's something true, but I don't know how to express it. I don't even know what to do with it. But beneath the surface, there's some truth over here. When people chase pleasure, they're not chasing it because it's bad, because it's the highest truth of Hashem is a life of pleasure. But it didn't know, it was immature, it didn't even know what to do with this feeling. So that's this katnus that the feminine experienced. I know that this is something off over here, but I don't know what it is. I know I'm supposed to be treated whatever like this, but I don't know how to express it, so I'm going to control and criticize, and it doesn't know what to do, but it knows. Or like I always give an example, when somebody insults somebody and they feel hurt. So why do they feel hurt? Because everybody is a manifestation of Hashem. You're hurting Hashem. There's something wrong with hurting somebody. So the spiritual way of dealing with it is, it's okay if you're being hurt. It's okay. You'll have big Olam Haba. But the truth is that no, you're not uncovering the Klipas Naiga over here. What's the truth? That I am a manifestation of Hashem, and I am worthy of being respected. So of course we're mature. We don't go and hurt people because we're hurt. But we heal ourselves through speech, actually, through how do you call it? Affirmations. Through affirmations. I am worthy, I am awesome, I am amazing, I'm loved, da 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 da. And it really works. I mean, I do it myself all the time. It really, really works. So so that is, yes, this whole thing, that's really what we're talking about, the katnus, that there's such deep truth of Hashem hidden beneath the surface, which the Nefesh HaBahamas and the feminine were so frustrated because they knew that it's not the ultimate, this is not the truth, there's something wrong over here. But they didn't know what to do with it because they didn't have enough information. They don't know what to make of it. So that's where evil was able to exist. And our worthiness to have boundaries. We thought we're not allowed to have boundaries. We thought we have to just give out our energy And no, we actually, everybody has a light, and the light has to know when to shine, when not. You have to respect yourself, because you're a manifestation of Hashem. You're king. The Rebbe, I remember the story where, I don't want to go too late, but I have 3 minutes. Okay, yeah, I'm going to continue. I want to finish it off because I have to soon. I have something at 2:00, and I guess we could continue to bring in on the WhatsApp. Okay. And so the Shemona Esrei begins, 1 second, with the words, Hashem, open my mouth that my lips may declare your praise. Hashem, if you want my prayers, if you want a dialogue of communion, then you must assist the process. You must help me speak. On my own, I lack the skill. I have regressed to such a point that I have lost my voice and capacity of self-expression, along with many other powers that associate with maturity and expanded consciousness. I cannot even stand upright. I am a puddle. All my upper 9 spheres, representing my higher levels of awareness, have collapsed into the lowest one, Malchus, and I am reduced to a single point, occupying the lowest level of the emanated world. For this reason, engagement happens through a one-way flow of speech. The groom talks while the bride stays silent. That's the brachas before the last bracha, right? So he pronounces intention, behold, you are sanctified to me, and she does not respond. Her silence expresses her lack of protest, which establishes the criteria of mutual consent. She is agreeing that until Tavshem Ches, this is the status quo. Malchus receives from the masculine, and Azai is. That's it. She doesn't protest. That's how it has to be. Their engagement with all its contractual responsibilities activates by her muteness. Why doesn't she speak at least a word of verbal consent? That would seem to be more consistent with the mutually binding character of the relationship. But the minute she's even saying she consents, I'm just thinking about this, it's already, she's becoming a balabas. It's sort of like she's becoming equal. And Hashem wanted her to stay on the bottom for whatever, for the time being, until we develop the Kalim. For this reason, engagement happens through a one-way flow of speech. The groom talks while the bride stays silent. Did I say this already? Yeah, okay. The reason for this custom is that the engagement ceremony models the earlier developmental stage in the evolving relationship of man and woman. In those stages, the bride is just beginning to recover from her fall and diminishment. Her stature remains severely decreased and overwhelmed to the point of near non-existence before the groom. The most obvious symptom of this disparity in stature is her lack of voice, both in her associated form of worship, prayer, and in her mute acceptance of engagement. Each reflects her katnut and is thus performed in silence. Okay, last page. However, the time is rapidly approaching when woman will complete her journey of perfecting. Fully recovered from a fall, she will return to her root in the sphere of Keser and manifest a crown to her husband, having now superseded him in stature. Their roles will have inverted, and she will be drawing down their light, bounty, and consciousness and passing it on to him, a service that he provided for millenniums. All this will follow an earlier shift when the bride comes into her voice, both literally and metaphorically, for voice symbolizes the more general activity of projecting herself out into the world as an independent agent, right? So now, let me tell you what, I don't have that much time, but so for example, in the past, she was dependent. It was a very sort of codependent relationship. She was dependent on her husband if she didn't feel happy. So, right? So how is she going to be happy? If he gives her attention, if he buys her a gift. Now it says, right, to be Messianic the Kallah, right? But now she's very independent. It's okay. It's okay I know how to make myself happy. When I'm feeling down or cranky, I go take a nap. I go take a bath. See, so she's connecting to her light, and that is making her, that's her voice. She now she's, you know what I mean? She's becoming independent. She's not no more codependent on him, but in a beautiful way. She's not, you know what I mean? She's not codependent that if he doesn't give her this, that she's not going to have that. Oh, she has better tools. She has a bag of tools, the 11 light. She could achieve things. He's very rigid. He doesn't want to do this or that. Oh, don't worry. She connects to her light. Oh, all of a sudden he's in a good mood. She doesn't have to argue. It's this bag of tricks, which she never had access to the higher light. And now she is independent, sort of, and she could project herself into the world because she could affect the whole world. The women who are now doing this Avodah are, I mean, everybody's seeing the whole world is changing. The whole world is becoming a more feminine world. And it's because the Rebbe says the women, when we do this Avodah, we change the whole energy in the whole world. So you're just going to see in the news, and you're going to see here and there that the world is starting to behave more feminine. They care about emotions. People. There's a lot of things.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, let me just finish, and then I'll see.
Yeah, you're saying.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to finish till the bottom of this page. Okay, this is what it means that the voice of the bride will be heard, meaning let it soon be heard. Both phrases indicate a future state when the supernal bride will finally attain her full stature and recover her voice. Now we are still in the era, but that was before, of engagement, and the bonding between man and women only incorporates their more external layers of light and consciousness. Their inner selves are displaced. She's not really true to herself, right? And we said before, when it says Hashem is my maker, Hashem, what does it mean? The pleasure of finally becoming true to yourself. I could really be me. I could be proud of who I am. I don't have to feel like I'm not good enough because I'm not like her. We start realizing we have to be us. We don't have to be this one. We have to be that one. Whatever Hashem made us that way is how we're meant to show up in the world. He wants to be like us. Hashem made all kinds of animals and all kinds of trees, right? He wants an orange tree to be an orange tree. Who said the orange has to be an apple? We get this idea, but that was the masculine understanding that oranges have to be apples. There's something wrong. Now we're like, if I'm an orange tree, I'm an orange tree, and I have to be the best orange tree. That's it. Okay. All right. Their inner selves were displaced. Okay. Prevented from entering into direct contact, they surround the couple instead, exerting an indirect influence and serving as their cosmic engagement ring, reflecting this cosmic stage of development where women and all things feminine is still profoundly diminished. But that was when this was written. Don't forget. This is not anymore today. A bride accepts her engagement in silence and prayer is whispered. But in the future, woman will return to her root as crown and receive her light straight from the very source of consciousness itself, the inwardness of the infinite light. Okay, so that's the higher 11, and it's the Pnimius. And we learned in the Chaf B'Shvat Sicha all about this and how to connect to it. And we're going to learn more about it in different pieces that we're going to learn. The relationship between groom and bride, God and Israel, will then be fully consummated. For women will become a vessel unto herself, a freestanding, independently acting partner in marriage. She will recover her voice and project herself out into the world to such an extent that the roles of man and women will invert. Man received his lights and bounty from the transcendent levels of Hashem via the agency of woman as his intermediary, a state described by the seventh marriage blessing. Blessed are you, Hashem, who rejoices the groom with the bride. This shifting of dynamic between man and women underlies all of the promised messianic blessings that await Klal Yisrael in the end of days. Okay, we have finished, and I'll just take, if somebody wanted to make one comment, and then I have something scheduled actually at 2:00. Nechama, you wanted to say something? Somebody want to say something?
No, I wanted to say something.
Sure.
Yeah, I had a question. You said that when you have a desire, you should be quiet. You should keep it quiet and wait for it to come. Or on the other hand, you said you need to express yourself. So I'm wondering what, like on one hand, you said you need to have a voice. And on the other hand, you need to just state your desire in your mind and wait for it to come. So which one do you actually need to do?
Okay, so when you have a desire, so desire should come from within. It's, you don't, if it's a true desire, and you have to learn how to really figure out if it's a true desire or not, right? Because let's say you think, like there's a whole, like in the Malchus curriculum, we go through figuring out what's the true desire or not. Like, I might think that I want this, but why do I really want it? Because of that. So that's my true desire. You know what I mean? So we have to get to the true desire. And then once we know what the true desire is, sometimes we have to express it. Let's say your true desire is that you want to live in a beautiful, spacious home. That's, at the end of the day, you took everything out of the way, and that's what you want. So once you figure it out, you express, I would love to live in a spacious home. It's my dream. And that's it. Leave it alone. Right? So that's how to express the desires. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Sorry?
my question. Yeah. Sorry. No, at one point, right. I understood what you said, and I like what you said about being true to yourself, about your desire.
Right.
Like to see where it's coming from.
Right.
But so when do you need to actually use your voice, and when do you need to actually just wait for it to come and let's say it's a true desire. Do you actually need to express it? Like, do you always have to express how you feel, or do you have to I'm just wondering what the,
Right. So it's an art. It's a whole science of, you learn with experience, what what is supposed to be said, and what it's in the curriculum. Like, I think I'm probably hope to write it again and elaborate more, but certain times you do want to say something, and certain times it's better to, like if it's criticism, I don't care what the desire is, you try not to say it. So you might want to take care of yourself, and you have, it's a whole science. It's not something I could give on one foot, but there's an art. There's an art, when to say something, and when you say it, you're saying it in a special way, in a way that can be received, and in a way that's not controlling, and it's in a loving way. And so there's times it's an art. It's not a one foot thing. So, but we could explore that maybe in the Machus WhatsApp, and everybody could
Thank
share
you
their
so much.
thoughts.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much. And to be continued, and have a wonderful week. And all the best, everybody.